It's one of the biggest films by a South Korean director this year.
옥자야. 옥자야!
But it's getting a less than welcome reception. The movie is about a girl's quest to save her hybrid animal friend who's been kidnapped by a multinational conglomerate.
Rescued Okja and bring her back to you.
Director Bong Joon-ho has teamed up with Netflix for the film's simultaneous theatrical and online release. And the backlash to the idea of streaming a film while it's in theaters was first felt at the Cannes Film Festival, and now here in South Korea.
With Okja, I expect various industry rules to be fine-tuned in regards to streaming movies and movies released in theaters. But before the rules and regulations, I think our movie arrived first, so there was a time delay. In Korea, if Okja can play the role of sparking to refinement of the rules and regulation in the future, I think that's a good thing.
With its online release, Okja is troubling traditional theater companies that don't want to lose their exclusive early showing rights. South Korea's largest theaters are boycotting the film, calling it a disruption to the local market. Still, with growing anticipation and international stars like Tilda Swinton and Steven Yeun, the movie could be a harbinger for the industry.
Well, I mean, the film is very independent from what's going on with all the optics around it. The film stands alone as a great achievement by director Bong. But I will say that, you know, we're in a new landscape right now, so we'll just see what happens.
Despite a star-studded cast and a renowned director, Okja will receive a limited release in South Korea as well as the United States. And when asked about the pushback, Netflix responded, saying their aim is just to give fans more viewing options. As simple as it sounds, it's caused major controversy. Here in South Korea, Bong's project with Netflix is likely to have a profound impact on the industry. Typically, directors need the support of large theater chains, which own 90% of screens in the country, to succeed. It's a formula that may soon become movie history.
Just looking at how they are investing money by just trusting in the director, Korean movies' growth potential is huge.
And just as greed is one of the main motifs of Okja, the film's release has also become all about the money. Joseph Kim, TRT World, Seoul.
Now, Kevin Anderson joins me live from Wisconsin. He's a media consultant and digital strategist. Kevin, great to have you with us on Money Talks. Interesting example there of that new film in South Korea. Do you think we're going to see more films like that being launched on both traditional and online platforms?
Well, you've seen a lot more simultaneous launches, and the previous motivation has really been to get ahead of piracy. So, you know, where you would have seen a staggered launch in several geographies around the world. For the last several years, of course, we've seen a simultaneous launch. So some of this is just responding to digital habits. Now, I think this new trend, I mean, you see Netflix's name plastered all over the backdrop there at Cannes, is the growing power of companies that began as digital distributors and now are increasingly competing as digital studios.
Let's talk a little bit about traditional cinema. In the US, box office takings last year were flat. It was a particularly bad year for US cinema last year. Attendances were down about 3.5%. But elsewhere, like in the Asia Pacific, attendances in cinemas are going up, in particular in places like China. Why this divergence?
I think some of that shows growth in Asian native creative markets. And so you think about two cultural powerhouses, you just named them, South Korea and China, and they've seen dramatic growth in their creative industries. And so as their populations grow wealthier, then they can fund their own domestic cinema. So in some ways, instead of just importing films from the US, you know, you're seeing a lot more cultural output by those countries. I think what's interesting in this instance is you've got a predominantly US company, Netflix, trying to cash in, I think, on that growing South Korean market with this partnership. I mean, Netflix put down $60 million to support the film. So obviously they're looking for a return, and it's going to be interesting. You know, as the director said, we're rewriting the rules as we go along, and I think those rules will largely be written over how the money gets distributed and who can continue to make money off of this.
Fundamentally speaking, what can cinema operators in the West do to reverse the trend that they are seeing?
Well, one of the things that you see, and I mean, I see it here in my local cinemas, is that they are trying to upgrade the experience. Now, some of that is you've got, instead of just the normal seats that you would have seen even 3 or 4 years ago, you've got these wonderful comfy loungers, which, to be quite honest, I almost fall asleep in. But you also have very expensive sound systems. So instead of just Dolby sound, which most people have at home now, you've got Dolby Atmos, which again is quite a premium sound system and is relatively expensive. It's not something everyone's going to have at home. So, you know, whether it's 3D a few years ago or Dolby Atmos or these loungers, I think they're trying to make the experience something that's unique to cinemas.
Now, you talk about those kinds of experiences. Now, James Cameron's supposedly launching the new Avatar film, which apparently is going to have 3D without having to wear spectacles. Is that going to be an innovation? Do you think that it's going to change the way people go to the cinema and change the fortunes of cinema operators?
I think there's a few things. And I mean, you talk about three-dimensional cinema. I think the other thing that, you know, talking about buzzwords is augmented reality or virtual reality. And so it takes that 3D experience even one step further and provides a truly immersive experience. I think the interesting thing is, you know, if 3D goes without glasses, VR is moving towards, you know, something with headsets. So, you know, we've seen this now for 10 or 15 years where there's a bit of a technological arms race in trying to upgrade that experience in cinema to make it something unique that you can't have in your home, that you have to travel to.
Indeed. I'm afraid we're running out of time there, Kevin. Kevin Anderson in Wisconsin, media consultant. Thank you ever so much for your time and on Money Talks.